Oh boy, I'm gonna get some heat for this one. Okay, Mizuzune, the Bubble Fox Wyvern himself, one of the GOATs for Monster Hunter Generations, is returning in Monster Hunter Wilds, and it's kinda had a mixed reaction. Some excited for the return of the Bewitched Dancer, and others disappointed in Capcom's choice in his return, given he was already in Rise, and also for another reason we'll get into. And for myself, we'll get into what I think about the situation in a bit, so stick around because there's a lot we need to get through in today's video. So, what are we covering in today's video? Firstly, a brief explanation on what's good about Mizu, then get into why some are disappointed. Moving on to talk about what they could mix up for the fight, why he was included, my thoughts on the matter, then finishing off to see what all of you had to say from a poll I put up the other day. Just a sneak peek here on the results. So buckle in, grab some cleanser because we're about to get soapy over here. Let's go. So, Mizu, the popular Bubble Fox for both East and the West, not just for how he looks, and trust me, he looks good, but also for how his fight plays out. He brings a lot of uniqueness to every game he's a part of, from the minigame of avoiding his water beams to trying not to get killed while being covered by bubbles. It's a heck of a journey for sure, and it doesn't even stop there. The music, my god! In Generations, it was already an S tier theme, but when it comes to Rise, for me, that beat is true fire. Let's go! God, that tune gets me dancing every time. Mizu overall offers a unique experience for hunters across the board. Even when it comes to the monster's ecology, the books point out how the guild is interested in how unique he is. If you're interested in learning more about him, from his weapons to gameplay, check out my Who's Mizu video. I think it turned out pretty good. Talking about weapons, have you seen how goated they look? His lance is amazing. I love the rings attached to the weapon. It's for sure got a Japanese culture written all over it. Not to mention the dual blades, sword shield, and a great sword. My god, that great sword. Then of course we got the armor, looks clean in every game he's around. So with all that being said, why are some people disappointed? Well, in Monster Hunter Rise, Capcom had Mizu Fever. So yeah, 3 Mizus may have been too much for some. Although, is it really that bad? We had 3 Gors in that game too, and people seem to still be super excited for Gor's return in Wilds, but not in the same respect when it comes to Mizu. This can be due to many reasons. I'm not going to pretend I know how every individual is feeling and understand their thought process, but I'll try to do my best to cover the main reasons. And later on in the video, we have comments from you guys on the poll I mentioned earlier. But if even then, your opinions aren't covered in this video, put them down in the comments down below and we'll talk there. But before that, I gotta say, what I just said about Mizu and Gor, insinuating that people were fine with Gor, so what's the problem with Mizu? Yeah, I don't really like that line of thinking. People do this a lot when trying to devalue someone else's opinion, and I've always disliked that. Firstly, you don't know if the people who liked one situation are the same as the ones who had issues with the other. Secondly, even if they were the same people, there could be many nuances to explain why they like or dislike something. But I'm not gonna lie, I do that myself sometimes. So if you guys ever notice that, call me out on it and I'll try to do better. Self-evaluation is important. Overall, being open-minded when examining others' opinions make things a lot better. Now with that out of the way, let's continue. So, what are the main issues with Mizu returning? Well, we have a couple. Number 1, Mizu was just in Rise. Number 2, in that game, we had 3 versions. Number 3, he's being included via the title update. And the 4th point, we'll get into that in a bit, but I think you know where we're headed on that one. Let's start with Mizu being in Rise. This goes back to what I was saying when it comes to Rajang the other week, that some monsters need a break. When they appear too often, they don't feel as special. I mean, even myself, when I saw the reveal, I was shocked, but not out of excitement. I was shocked because I just didn't believe he'd be the monster to return in a title update. Is that Mizu? Mizu! Him being in the base game on release, I get, but as a title update, that kind of loses me. Now, to be fair, when it comes to Mizu, him and monsters like Rajang aren't really in the same boat. Rajang has been in every game since 4U, except from World, while Mizu only skipped World and Iceborne altogether. So they aren't truly equivalent here. In fact, maybe him skipping World is a big reason why he's here in this game. And trust me, you'll want to see my theories on that point later. But regardless of Mizu and Rajang not being equivalent here, it still does have a similar feeling when it comes to this situation. Therefore, when we combine this fact with the rest of the 3. Speaking about 3, in Rise Break, we had 3 Mizus. Don't get me wrong, I either like or love their fight in Rise Break, Apex being the like in this regard. I even love Violet, even though he gets shat on by most of the community. but 3 is kind of a lot. People were kind of fed up with Mizu by the time Violet came around. But to be honest, not because of the inclusion of the 3rd Mizu, more for the reason we kept getting fire monsters in Sunbreak. If he was a thunder monster or something, maybe people would have been more excited. Thunder Bubble Mizu in the mainline series will forever be a dream. Anyway, this blurred fact also adds into the reason why some may not be excited for Mizu. Then there's the 3rd reason. As a title update, the other 2 points doesn't bother me much personally, but a title updated Mizu, that just feels weird to me. I mean, normally title updates are kept for the bigger and badder parts of the monster catalog. I mean, could you imagine if they just showed up with a great Jagras as a title update monster? Like, that would be pretty damn lame. Okay, it's Monster Hunter time. Let's see what they got for us. And here's the latest trailer on Monster Hunter Wilds title update. Introducing a returning monster, the Great Jagras. What? Alright, let's not kid ourselves. Mizu is
10 billion%
better than Jagras. There's not even a comparison here. In fact, get this low tier ugly ass monster out of my video. Anyway, let's get back on track. Normally, title updates are reserved for the more difficult or unique monsters, or monsters that haven't been seen in a while. As we stated before, Mizu is unique, but he was already a base game monster in Rise, so why a title update for Wilds? In World, we had Devil Joe and Varjang for example, and then when it came to Rise, Chameleos and Valstrax. So Mizu, a monster who's medium difficulty at best, coming into the end parts of the game is a bit weird. We'll have end game gear on, pounding the heck out of poor Mizu. Feels bad, man. To get around all this drama, maybe they could have gone for a different monster. Now, we had 4 points. Can you guess what the 4th was? Where the hell is my Mammoth? The Mammoth who has no fear. The queen of the icy mountains. She's the last of the fated 4 to make a return to Monster Hunter, left alone to ponder the game known as Generations Ultimate. When it comes to Monster Hunter Wilds, so far she has been denied. Look, I get it, she's a chunky girl, but what can I say? I like them a bit chunky time to time. A bit of meat ain't no problem for your boy Nova, if you know what I'm saying. Yes sir. But yeah, when it comes to Monster Hunter, I suppose it came to her disadvantage in the fight. She was kind of a joke in that game, I can't lie. Even though I really like her, she's clearly the easiest of the fated 4. If they want to bring her back, they gotta do some changes. They need to stop her from getting flinched so often. That made her too vulnerable. Looking at Elder Frost's fight would be a good example of what they could do to fix her up, because Elder Frost is amazing. Massive snowballs being thrown around, more aggression when it comes to her movements, truly a great fight. I just got 2 more points when it comes to her size. It's funny that some people have problems with her size, but I mean Dombros is massive too, but the fact that he is that size and can do what he does makes him so awesome. So when it comes to Mammoth, I'm sure they can do plenty to fix her fight right up. And secondly, like we said, we had Elder Frost, who is an elite tier monster. I don't care who you are, don't give a shit. Elder Frost is great. It is one thing I like more than a big girl is an old girl, and Capcom delivered on that front as well. Oh yeah. It is a bit strange how we haven't seen her return yet. Iceborne would have been perfect for her. I know some people say that she's too big for their engine, but the game has plenty of huge monsters, so I don't fully buy that, to be honest. But if you guys have something more to say on that topic to educate me, go through it down below. You know I'll be reading. So instead, we had Glavenus, a fire monster for Iceborne, which kind of felt a bit weird. Then Rise and Sunbreak, we had Mizu and Astalos respectively. Both amazing additions, don't get me wrong. It's just Mammoth being left out just doesn't feel right. And here we are again. So far, I want to put emphasis on so far, we have not seen her in sight, because it may be the case that the game comes out and she's actually hidden in the base game, waiting for us to get sat on by our favorite Mammoth. So yeah, I think most of us would agree that Mammoth would have been a better pick overall rather than Mizu. Or hell, why not just bring all of the fated 4? Or maybe we truly have to wait for GU2 for that to happen. But coming back to the fact that Mizu is a title update monster, I just want to push this point. If Mizu was in the base game, I'd be fine with that, but as a title update monster, that just doesn't sit right with me. Even more so due to the fact that she was a base monster in Monster Hunter Rise. So for him to be title update worthy, they'll need to mix up a lot in his fight. So I guess it's time for us to theorize what they could do. So firstly, a lot of how Mizu works in Rise has to do with the wire bug. Dodging her water beams was a big part of the gameplay. Definitely when it came to the horizontal beam attacks. We do have blocks and counters in Wilds to deal with it. So maybe that's how we'll have to handle that situation. So perhaps that part of the fight will be the same. In fact, now think about it. Rise had a lot of counters and iframes, and this game does too. So maybe they don't need to remove much from him. One thing I think they could change is the fact that he falls over way too often. I do like the idea of us getting rewarded for playing properly, but it does feel a bit harsh he can get toppled so often. Next, his big water move. Similar to Sunbreak, this game isn't afraid of AoE moves, so more moves where he shoots out blasts of water would be welcome. I'm a believer of more monsters having moves well suited for one-on-ones, but also for multiplayer as well. For example, Nogan World. As he jumps from hunter to hunter, it's like a mini game. Where's he gonna land? Nobody knows. That part of World I really liked. So seeing something like that on Mizu would be awesome. They could even push the bubble mechanic further, making it even harder to handle yourself in a fight when you have the blight. This could get annoying, but prepping is and should always be a big part of Monster Hunter. Mizu's bubbles have never been a major issue, so playing around with that mechanic in this game could be great. One example is stopping you from being able to get in your sacred when you have the blight on. Could you imagine trying to get on and falling off due to how soapy and slippery you are? Yeah, that would be something. Another thing, in that video explaining Mizu and his mechanics, one of my subs, the Vow of God, who by the way continues to disappoint me. Every time I see him on stream, I ask him, how many gods have you devoured? And time after time, the answer is none. Come on people, live up to the task you give yourself. Anyway, he said, what is interesting about Mizu, and I hope they show more in Wilds, is that the ones you hunt are male. They get aggressive during breeding season. Female Mizus are docile and have a different coloration too, which is an awesome idea. Maybe this is another reason why Mizu is coming into this game. From an ecological standpoint, if the game engages in this type of idea, making male and female Mizus available to be fought in the game, and the different genders fight differently, I'm all for that. Well, for me, that's all the ideas I came up with for the monster. Let me know down below what ideas you have for them to change up Mizu's fight in Wilds. So now we get to the point. Why Mizu for Wilds? I think it has to do with the fact that she missed the world. I've noticed while Capcom have been doing their marketing for Wilds, they keep mentioning World and not GU, Rise, For You, or others. I get that World brought in a lot of people into the fan base, but I just gotta say, come on Capcom, don't forget about the rest of the games. There's more than just World. Anyway, since he wasn't in World, Capcom wanted those parts of the fan base who didn't play Rise to experience him. You can further see this with the number of Leviathans we have in Wilds, one of the most we've had in the game. And this is just the base game. Imagine what will happen when the G rank comes out. God damn. Yeah, I still call it G rank, Sumi, Balahawa, Haribami, Ufduna, and yes, I believe now it's confirmed that Jin Dahad is also a Leviathan. Our dreams of a Snake Riven dwindle day by day. World didn't have any in it due to the game's engine, so I think Capcom want to make up for that fact when it comes to Wilds. So once again, it makes sense that Mizu is back, but as a title update, not so much. So my overall thoughts on the situation, we just have to hope that the mammoth known as Gammoth will return in Wilds, either in the base game or in a title update. But now we're finished with all that, let's get into what your thoughts are on the situation. So like I said before, I put up a poll and the question was, how do you feel about Mizu returning in Monster Hunter Wilds? And I also added in saying, not saying you hate the fact or dislike the fact he's returning does not mean you hate or dislike the monster. As of this video, we had 359 votes, 30% saying I'm excited he's back, 53% saying I like the fact he's back, 15% saying I don't like the fact he's back, and 2% saying I hate it, the fact he's back. Okay, yeah, I get it. Sometimes my spelling sucks. I'm more of a maths and computers guy. Next time I use a grammar checker to make sure my grammar's on point. Anyways, first let's start with one of my long-lasting subscribers, Trax, who says, my next door neighbor is going to be in Wilds before Gammoth. And yeah, that might be the case. Let's just hope they're decently strong, because I like a challenge. Next, Endemoni Arda_1, who says, I don't dislike him, but we've had all of the Fatal 4 except Gammoth in recent games, which I think is a fair sentiment, and one many people have shared. In fact, I'm sure people would be more than fine if he was in the game, but Gammoth should have been announced first. In fact, other people in the comments say similar. DD Viking, a regular when it comes to these polls, saying, at this point, Gammoth is the second most requested monster to return after Laggy, which he's not wrong. I think these two are probably the most requested. Then after that, I'd have to say Nergi or God Magnios or something. John Haddis Nardengas 7643 also added into this saying, would have preferred Pepidrome. I think he means Popodrome, which is another name people use for Gammoth. Bryson Lewis says, just bring back the rest of the Fated 4 to make everyone happy. And yeah, I'm sure people would love that. Look, Semi-Automated 2618 says, I like Mizu, so won't complain about his return, but I will cry and howl in joy and excitement when we see Gammoth in Wilds. A Flaming Idiot 4427 says, I like Mizu. It's a very cute and fun monster with some sick lore. Very happy to see him back in Rise, a game he perfectly fit in. I don't feel much for Violent Mizu, but pretty cool to give them an equivalent of an aesthetic Glavenus. But it does feel weird to have Mizu return so soon and once again to be used as a marketing draw. Like, I'd feel different if Mizu was in the game but not shown in trailers. Still wouldn't like it, but you know, just feeling the favoritism of returning into the base game after 2 games in a row, while Glavenus and Astalos had to wait for the expansion. Not to mention the little Gammoth in the room, or more so, lack of her in the room, of her still not having a post-Generations Ultimate appearance. I know Mizu is a fan favourite, and they're playing into that, but it just feels bad to see Mizu push so hard when Astalos, and even more so Gammoth, had been left to the wayside. It's difficult to fully grasp how Capcom choose monsters. On one hand, they said in a recent interview that they look for monsters that will fit into the game they envision. Yet, on the other hand, they also seemingly go towards what is popular and perhaps their own favoritism, like a Flamin had to say. All we can hope for is that Mizu won't be the only fated four to return. I am Sir Newt Newt has this to say: Mizu and Gore are wasted monster slots. They really need to make a rule that if a monster was in the last game, it shouldn't be returned in the next one. I have hunted 100 of both, and now I'm going to do it again? It just makes me hate the monster. I truly despise the new monsters in World, since Capcom keeps reusing them. I would rather the devs focus on bringing back old monsters that haven't been given the 5th gen treatment. I get what he means. It does get a bit boring fighting the same lot over and over. After a couple gens, sure, then you can really see what's changed about them. But as of now, I can't fully envision how much Mizu will change. Even looking at other returning monsters, Gypsros, Narcilla and Gravios. Yes, the fights have changed, but only slightly. Overall, the fights aren't that different. But in their cases, it's been a while since they returned, so the return is justified. ESDP6TW saying, not a bad ad, and interesting to consider how it will be updated in the gen with no wire bugs. But I was hoping for more rep in monsties that haven't appeared yet in the 5th gen. Obviously Mammoth and the Gycrus is most people's banter, but also the likes of Plesioth and Drombros, and less represented groups like Snakes and Arthropods. So yeah, as you can see, people don't dislike Mizu, they just would like to see Mammoth first. But as we talked about earlier in the video, there are other reasons people aren't excited about Mizu's return, mainly about being a title update monster. The boy plus Delta 4477 saying, him being back is fine. Him being back as the first title update is lame as fuck. He's right, it is lame as the first title update. For the reasons we pointed out before, he's not that hard. It wasn't just in Rise. In GU, he isn't a difficult monster either. GameCrunch9 saying it's a meh for me. I don't mind his return, but I feel that they could have used a different monster that people wanted for the title update, because we got him in Rise. Further adding into that point, Sif Greyfang says similar, saying, I just hope there's a healthy amount of new and returning monsters. More and more people share the sentiment. And Terry's _2801 also says, I like Mizu, so I'm fine with his return, but not as a first title update monster. I just hope there is another monster alongside him. I think that's reasonable to say, and most people would agree. Zarks4159 says, he's fine and all, but it takes away of a chance for other monsters we haven't seen in a while coming back. Not to mention that's explicitly what the Monster Hunter team said they wanted to do, is to bring back monsters that weren't in World, Iceborne, Rise, Sunbreak, and give them a chance to shine anew. It just goes against what they stated since we just had Mizu in Rise. And yes, he's right, there are plenty of monsters that haven't returned. Just to name a few, Kuropeko, Akantor, Ignator, Lucanlos, and there are a couple other people who also added into this line of thinking. Actual Catfish, who says, wouldn't have been my first pick for a title update 1 monster, but I'm not disappointed either. Everyone is wishing that it would have been Mammoth revealed instead, but personally, I'd sooner hope to see Astalos finally get a mainline appearance. The RGB Wyvern would look amazing with Wild's graphics. Well, like others have said, let's hope that we get the Fatal 4 one day. Wallace Smurf 7878 says, Rise Sunbreak had normal Mizu, Apex Mizu, then we got a title update for Violet Mizu in Sunbreak. We just had 3 different variations of this guy, and now he's back again as a first title update for Wilds, which as I said before, is weird. The Meow Sikian 1664 feels similar, saying, bought Mizu so often, I wish they'd bring back older monsters that haven't returned in a while. Serenity 3157 says, I prefer one that doesn't have spotlight yet during World or Rise. Sunny JCR seems to agree, saying, I'm not opposed to it, but I'd have preferred a different existing monster, or ideally entirely new one. God of Boys 672, interesting name. Yo, Devourer of Gods, looks like you have your next target right here. Love Mizu, and I'm excited to hunt it again. Just wish they could have brought back a different monster. Brando 4590, a frequent viewer of my streams, adds to this saying, better options exist, but nevertheless, it's a unique and fun monster that will fit well in Wilds, but I'm sure they had the reason to add it. Struggler, with a lot of dashes in his name, says, Mizu is a sick monster, so I don't mind, but Capcom had an amazing chance to bring the rest of the Fated 4 in other title updates. Since we have 4 Apexes, I think it would be a very cool dynamic. Also, if they say Mammoth is too big, I call BS. They very clearly make it a point to keep saying the Ice Apex is a very large lad. Thank you for coming to my Copium talk. Nice, cool, Struggler. Everyone needs some coping once in a while. Next we have Camo Within 3836. But before we read out what he has to say, I gotta ask, what's up with everyone having so many numbers in their names? Are you guys all bots or something? Like, goddamn. How many Camo Wyverns are there? Do I have to hunt you all? Anyway, Mr. Rathalos 3836 says, on one hand, he is a good monster, so I don't mind his return. However, I would have preferred someone more obscure instead of the same two monsters again. The rest of his comment kind of seems like a leak, I don't know, so I cut it out. Guys, can you refer from putting out leaks in my comments? I've said this so many times, but people seem to still always do it. It's annoying. I only just realized it when I was recording this. I already wrote a part of the script to reply to what he said, and now rereading it, I'm like, whoa, that was actually a leak. And now you've leaked it for me too, so Camo Within, if you have leaked it for me, then sorry man, you kind of suck, alright? If you haven't, and I'm just getting what you're saying wrong, then let me know down in the comments. Wayward Vital Ryu 7185, for fuck's sake. Anyway, he says, not gonna lie, kind of starting to get sick of it, but at the same time, it'll be nice to see the glow up in the series' current art style. And yeah, I'll give it to you, it'll be interesting to see the glow up in this game, visually. We have to see though how they mix up the fight in the end. Let's finish this part off with Dingo S822 saying, neutral, he's a cool monster, but as the first title update, Devijo was way more exciting in world, probably because the jump from 4th gen to 5th gen was larger, so seeing him with better graphics was great. Mizu's jump from 5th to 6th gen is fine. I'm excited to see how his theme gets remixed for this game though. He's right, Devijo was more fitting for the post-game part of Monster Hunter. Unless, like I said, they juice Mizu up real good, I don't see it ending well. Bryant_9_3154 says, I'm happy he's back. I hope he'll be reworked and made stronger because having a mid-tier monster as post-game free title update seems kind of weird. Also, he seems to me as a lazy choice due to Mizu having a classic Leviathan based model, which is already in the game, while other monsters that people want have models which have to be built from scratch. Now, the first part I also agree. As we've seen what I've said before, Mizu isn't tough. Some newer players may think that's due to Rise, but back in GU, he wasn't that tough either. So a revamp would be needed, and let's hope all of the Fate 4 get that as well. The other parts, I don't know about being lazy. It's possible to see it that way, and that could be the reason for his return. We will have to see the fight to truly judge Capcom on if it's lazy or not. Stoma JC9493 adds on to this saying, I'm happy, yeah, but I'm also a bit bitter. Mammoth isn't back because it felt like Gamma's turn to be in a game. I also think Mizu is a weird choice for a first update. I assume we're going for a Sunbreak style update of having multiple monsters per update, because Mizu on his own isn't really update worthy. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are plenty of people who are still excited. Bival, who has a great story to share, says, Mizu was the monster that got me into the series at all. Saw a thumbnail of a video in Japanese with Mizu on it. Thought it looked beautiful, so I clicked on the video. It was a hunt with a charge blade against Mizu. That was my very first exposure to the series. So yes, I'm in fact very happy he's here. Awesome story to share. It's interesting how just seeing the right piece of media, either by picture or video, etc., it can grab your attention towards the product. And in their case, Mizu did that for them. Just going off script for a second, it kind of brings it back to myself actually. I had a similar experience back when I saw Monster Hunter Try. I saw a trailer from IGN and they were hunting a Gobu, and there was people putting down traps, they were putting down bombs, they were leading Gobu into the trap, they were just going ham on him, and I was like, yo, this game is so sick, this game is so cool. And I got Try for my Wii U and I played the game and I fell in love, and you know, here we are. You know what, 17, I don't know how many years later, we're still rocking it. I think probably like 14 actually. Roberto Makisati 7069 saying, it's a monster I enjoy fighting, I can't complain. 2 games back to back may feel less fresh, for sure, but I don't really care that much. I would appreciate if they use Mizu as an excuse to keep Legaicrus far away from being stranded on land like it did in GU. Truly, and look at how they massacred my boy Moment. You all know my viewpoint on Laggy for Wilds at this point. If you haven't, go check the video down in the description on monsters I want for Wilds. The only Laggy I want to see permanently on land is Ivory. Mohammed Gatu 5684 saying, I love that abnormal status skill like Bubble Dance having a chance of returning. Love the monster, armor, design, everything. Which is nice about him. Him and his variants are the only monsters able to spread the bubble status. Having more monsters like that would be awesome. Like I said before, look at his greatsword and lance. Now if these aren't top tier weapons, I don't know what are. Now lastly, let's wrap up with some other people's comments on this matter. Starting with Afro Freestyle saying, I don't get why people say they prefer Mammoth, like they are mutually exclusive. They both have different roles and are from different biomes, which I think from watching this video, you would have realized by now why. It's not that people don't want him and only want Mammoth, it's just they would have liked to see Mammoth first. Even if Mammoth is in the game, which I hope she is, Capcom's handling of the situation isn't the best way to deal with it. YOLO Dennis says, I absolutely despise his fight in Rise. I didn't bother learning it at all, but I expect to enjoy it in Wilds. Well bro, I don't know what to tell you. Learn the fight, I guess. Like, what the hell? That boy Pottage says, I'm indifferent about it. It's cool cause the Rise fighting made him way easier due to wire bugs. Wilds won't be as easy. I don't know. I crafted to him more in Rise than I ever have in GU, but maybe that's just me. Hammy Blades 9280 saying, it looks a bit weird. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, so let's move on. Mean Boy 3448, who's answered a lot of our quizzes and also been in the streams, so great to see you, my friend, says, I feel like Wilds, either in DLC or title update, should get most of the monsters that return for Rise. Although preferably not any Rise originals because they are far too stylized for a game that focuses on ecology. Because some people may only play the faster paced games, while others, like me, only play the games focused on ecology. So having monsters get into games back to back to allow all players to hunt them should become the norm. I kind of get your point. It is true that this game is more focused on the ecology aspect of Monster Hunter. So yeah, bringing monsters that haven't had a chance to shine that fact into the game would be cool. But let's not forget those intros in Rise and how sick they were. It wasn't in-game ecology by gameplay, but those mini stories of how monsters behave was awesome. And also it's interesting because GU was even more stylized than Rise. But a lot of people are fine with those monsters. Mizu, Galavinus, Mammoth. GU is literally a stylized game. GU doesn't really have a story. It doesn't have a story at all actually. You just hunt monsters. That's basically all you do. The only story really is Valstrax crashed into the airship and now you have to hunt him. That's literally it. So every monster from Generations is basically a stylized monster with ecology behind it via guidebooks. Now Monster Hunter Rise monsters all have ecology behind them via guidebooks. So Mean Boy, to be honest, I can't really agree with what you're saying here. It doesn't actually line up with reality of events. But let's move on from this. Gerald says he never actually played the games Mizu was in, so he's neutral on this point, which further pushes the point I was making about Mizu and the lack of Leviathans in World. Mattiacaroni 2198 asks for Glavinus to come back, which yeah, would have been nice. I do like him a lot. The G version that is, not much to Iceborne. Mr. 101 AAA says, not a fave, but definitely an interesting fight. Hopefully this means Deviljho is in the base game this time. I wouldn't mind Deviljho to return. Could you imagine him just going around eating up all the monsters on the map? And considering we have so many monsters on the map now, that could be crazy. And finally, Indo, who says, I hope they bring Thunder Bubble Mizu into the main line. Bro, I'm with you on that one. And with that, we're done with comments. So thank you for everyone for your contribution. It's always nice to see what others have to say. And yes, it seems like for the most part, people on a similar wavelength. Mizu is cool, but Capcom, bring back Mammoth too. She's great. If there's been any other comments that people have left after this recording has been done, I'm sorry that yours aren't here, but thank you for your contribution as well. I'll try to show some of them right now on screen in editing. Just a little extra here for people who watched to the end. Thank you all for watching this video. The support is awesome. I spend hours writing scripts and editing. In fact, normally I listen to music of the monster I'm writing about, or theme tunes to match the tone of the video, for example. And of course for this one, I listened to Mizu's theme tune from Rise, the 30 minutes extended version, probably about 8 or so times. Actually, probably 12 now actually, now I think about it. While writing the script and while actually editing the video. And that's about what, 5, 6, 7 hours? I don't know how long this video took. It took quite a while overall. So yeah, any support either by membership, super chats or whatever, subscribing, liking, commenting is much appreciated. You know, keep watching the content if you enjoy, and I'll keep making it. So yeah, thank you. Anyway guys, this time I'm truly done. I'll catch you next time. See ya.